Yep, and we're rolling.
Welcome everyone to another presentation from the Carolyn County Library. Tonight we're having Making a Spending Plan Work for You. This is presented by the Michigan State University Extension Program. Now, a few things. You are welcome to ask questions during the presentation. However, when you're not asking a question, we ask you that you mute your mic. Also, if you notice in chat, I have downloaded forms there that you can download. If you're watching a recording, you can email us at dhreference@gmail.com and we will send you the documents. Again, that's D as in dog, H as in horse, reference@gmail.com. Senior Extension Educator Brenda Long served as the Family and Consumer Sciences Education in Ionia County from 2002 until the MSU Extension restructuring in 2010, when Long's responsibilities expanded to 6 mid-Michigan counties, including Montcalm, Gratiot, Clinton, Eaton, and Enum. Long has been responsible for planning, promoting, conducting, and evaluating education programs focused on financial capabilities, homebuyer, foreclosure, prevention, and health insurance education. As a current co-chair of the Financial and Homeownership Work Team, Long has been instrumental in developing and/or training for regional and statewide programs that enhance county programs. She has also been the principal investigator for several federal grants and supervises one program instructor. So I'll leave it to Brenda now.
Thanks, Rob, for that great introduction. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Okay, how does that look? Great, thank you. All right, so this evening we're going to talk about making a spending plan work for you. And if you can type in the chat one thing that you would like to learn more about today. So just to make sure that that we cover what you're interested in. Okay. All right, and I cannot see the chat. So Rob and Jason, if you'll let me know what's in there.
I'm the only one who put something. I just put in ways to save money, of course.
Okay, all right, there's a good one. Okay. So feel free to put in other questions in the chat, or because it's a small group, you can unmute your microphone and ask. Just a few preliminary slides. MSU is an affirmative action equal opportunity employer, and our programs are open to all. In case you don't know much about MSU Extension, our mission is to help people improve their lives through education. So we bring education from the university out to the residents throughout the state of Michigan. And finances is one of those critical issues. There are many different ways that we educate through MSU Extension. I work in the area of financial and homeownership education, but I have colleagues who teach about natural resources, about the Great Lakes or inland lakes, forests in the northern part of the state. We have educators who help entrepreneurs get a business started, especially if it's related to something agricultural, food, or fiber. A lot of people around the state know us because of our agricultural programs, working with farmers for over 100 years with their crops and livestock. A lot of people also know us because of our work with children and youth with the 4-H program. We have many educators who teach about health and nutrition, about eating healthier foods, preventing chronic conditions, emotional health, well-being, and food safety, not getting sick from the foods you eat. So if you want to check out our main website, msue.msu.edu, you can find more information about all of these other programs. Okay, and this is the website that my team has, www.mymoneyhealth.org, MI for Michigan. So check that one out too when you get a chance to look through the internet. Okay, so what we're going to talk about this evening is the value of tracking our spending. We're also going to talk about the value and why you should have a spending plan. We'll also touch base on how to avoid some spending plan pitfalls and answer questions. So just as a little bit of background, some recent studies showed that half of Americans have less than 1 month's income saved for a rainy day. And I think that came to light when COVID-19 started 10, 11 months ago. And so many people lost their jobs or had reduced income. They realized how precarious their financial situation was. About half of adults say they don't budget. Around that many also say they live paycheck to paycheck. And 40% say they find it difficult to meet their monthly daily living expenses. About a third of Michiganders report just breaking even, while 15% say they spend more than they earn. And almost half say they don't have an emergency fund, which is that money set aside to cover 3 months of their expenses. So how can a spending plan help? Well, the first step is to track your spending so that you can really see where your money is going. So the way to do this is to record all money spent in 1 month. So you can do this in a variety of ways. The next slide will give you some ideas. And then you add up the total. And we're almost to February, which is actually a shorter month. So, but if you want to do a whole month that way, that would work. And then after you see where your spending is, then you can categorize it. What went toward any housing, utilities, clothing, recreation, transportation, etc. And then also identify it as either a need or a want. So there's many different ways to actually track spending. One of the pages that Rob can email to you is called Keep Track of Your Spending. It's just a pretty blank page, but it gives you a place that if you buy something, you record the date and what it was and how much it cost. Other ways to do this are to use a little notebook, sort of a journal idea. You can save every receipt and put it in a certain place, and then at the end of the month, sort out those receipts to analyze your shopping. If you mainly use a checkbook to write checks to pay for things, or if you use a debit card, you can look up your monthly bank or credit union statement. There's online apps through many financial institutions, or you can use mint.com or a spreadsheet, whatever way works for you, either low tech or high tech. So, but I encourage you to track your spending for 1 month to see where your money's really going. Because it might be, for instance, that you think you spend about $60 a week at the grocery store, but is that really accurate? So do that reality check for 1 month and track everything that you're buying, and then you can review it and analyze it. And there's usually some aha moments. So, you know, one example is stopping at a convenience store or a coffee shop for some kind of a beverage that costs $2.50, 5 days a week. That ends up costing $12.50 a week, and you can see the math here. That's $600 a year. So if that's okay, no problem. If that's money that you could be using for other needs, or to increase those savings, that's something that you can identify and decide to do differently. I wanted to also mention this spending calculator. If this is a tool that you can use to see how much things really cost. When I was doing in-person money management classes, people really, you know, if they, like one example is smoking cigarettes. That costs like $7 a pack. Well, and they smoke a pack a day. Well, that's several $1,000s a year. And most people have some habits, whatever they are, of buying this or that. And so if you're wanting to really watch where your money's going, it's important to do this tracking activity. So if you want to type in the chat, here's a question of what way of tracking your spending do you think you'll try? Okay. So something low tech, you can Another idea is to take a plain piece of paper, printer paper, fold it in half 3 times, you come up with 8 little boxes. And so one for each day of the week that you can write down when you buy something and what it was, how much it costs, and then fold it back up and it fits right in your wallet. So it's right there when you purchase an item. All right, so moving on to why have a spending plan? Okay, it is a valuable tool because it helps you have more control. That feeling that you know what your income is and then what you're purchasing, what your expenses are. Okay, some of the expenses may be fixed. They're the same every month for, say, your rent or mortgage, for your cell phone, etc. But then some are more flexible. How much you spend for food or clothing or transportation, those can vary month to month. A spending plan also helps you prepare for those unexpected expenses, those emergencies that come up. Things like, you know, an appliance breaks down or your vehicle breaks down and needs a repair. You need to go visit a relative unexpectedly. So there's those surprise things that come up, but it's a really good exercise to help you understand how your money is being spent and also to reach goals. So for instance, if you want to save more or you want to purchase something in say a year, and you know how much it costs, so to plan ahead for that. And there is a concept called pay yourself first, where you say you treat some savings like a bill, like an expense. So say every month you want to save $50. So you have $600 in a year. That would be paying yourself first with that $50 added into your spending plan. Another handout that that Rob can email you is this one, a household budget with all these different categories to help you remember, because you know usually people when they think about their monthly budget, they remember how much they pay for their housing and their food and so on, but do they remember those insurances and home maintenance and if they have pets, to buy things for them, etc. So there's also the occasional expenses that we don't always remember, things that just come up that we have to pay once a year, like some insurances, or if you have to buy your registration tags for your vehicle, if you pay your own property taxes, etc. Those things that and holiday and birthday gifts, those kinds of things. All right, so next question is if you're currently using a spending plan, yes or no? So just think about that. And a lot of people want to try to understand, once they figure out where their money is going, how does that compare with other households? And this slide gives you some ideas of that. The recommendation is to spend between 25 to 35% of your income for housing. Many families now are spending more like 40 to 50% of their income on housing, which causes some strain on the other things that they need to buy. All right, so as far as having some emergency funds and also thinking again about those non-monthly expenses, there's different kinds of savings. One type of savings is for those small unplanned surprise expenses that come up. Another example might be an unexpected medical illness that causes you to have to have some medical bills or medicine that you didn't plan for. Then there's the emergency income, which is having 3 to 6 months of your regular expenses set aside just in case your income is reduced, even temporarily. And then any goal savings. So what I said before, thinking ahead, you want to be able to do something in a year. So how much money will that cost, and how much do you need to start setting aside to make that happen? Then there's the non-monthly expenses that we talked about a couple slides ago. Okay, so to be able to project and plan for those non-monthly expenses, it's important to make a list of them for the and we're still at the beginning of the year, so you could do it for the whole year. Divide by the number of months, and then that's the amount that you should strive to save each month, so you have that money when those expenses come up. And if the amount is too big for your budget, then it's time to take a look at your budget and see if you can make any revisions, any adjustments, or if you need to really decide if something is a need or if it's really a want. Are there ways to spend less or to earn more income, or what else can you do? So, for example, these are some of the non-monthly expenses that you came up with. Add up to about $1,700 divided by 12. It's $141 and change. And if that's too much for you to be setting aside, then what are some adjustments you can make? So reduce you have to keep the car repairs and maintenance and the vet bills the same. Can adjust the holiday gifts, reducing those by $200. Holiday travel less, decide not to buy the new shoes. That brings the total down to $1,250, which is $104 a month. So if that's more realistic for you, and if those adjustments work for you, then that's how you you make those changes. I also wanted to mention the envelope method for tracking. If you don't have a bank account, and if you use mostly cash to pay for things, this has worked for a lot of people. So you have, say, as many envelopes as you need for the different categories that you tend to purchase. So say you need 6 or 10 envelopes, however much, you write on the outside the name of the categories. So one would be for your rent, one would be for groceries, one would be for transportation, etc. And you put the amount of cash in the envelopes that you think you're going to need for that category. And then once you buy something, you can put the receipt right back in the envelope. So basically you need to take the envelope with you when you pay that bill. When you go to the grocery store, when you go to pay your utility bills, etc. The disadvantage is that it might not be safe to keep cash at home. It's tempting to use cash in other ways, to borrow from one envelope when you want something for another. And sometimes it's difficult to keep those envelopes organized. All right, so the formula for having a spending plan and managing it, once you understand your income and expenses, and you've tracked that all, you have a realistic picture. So if your expenses and your spending and saving equals your net monthly income, if it balances out, then and everything seems okay, then that's important learning. But if that's not true, you can either think about increasing income, and some ways to do that. If you would get a part-time job, if you would sell some things of value that you don't need anymore, if you can get a higher tax refund, if it's sort of a one-time thing, but the stimulus payments that we got back in the spring, hopefully you got those, or there might be some more coming. Another possibility is to decrease expenses, to really look at everything that you're spending money on and decide, again, if that's a need or a want. I remember one family I was working with that was having trouble making their house payments. And once we did their spending plan, they realized that the husband, who had a full-time job, was stopping at a convenience store every morning for a $2 cup of coffee. And then he was eating lunch out, spending about $10 and leaving a $2 tip. And when he added it up, the light bulb went off for him, and he said, "Oh, you mean if I bought a coffee maker and a lunchbox that I could afford my house payment?" So it's trying to see if there's some of those spending leaks that can be addressed, either to eliminate or to reduce, or maybe there's some things that you absolutely think are essential, so you leave them. But once you have the numbers in front of you, then you can work with them. or if it's some combination of both. Um, Maybe increasing income, it's partnering with some family or relatives that you can trade some services, babysitting or snow shoveling or whatever it might be, instead of hiring those kinds of things done. So lots of different ways, once you realize what's going on, that you can think about how can I do this differently. It's also a good idea to use a calendar. You can record your bills, who you owe and the due date, or the date that you need to make the payment, especially if you're going to mail it, how many days in advance to make sure it gets there on time. To have some kind of a system to see when you've already paid bills. You can also write on that calendar to track your spending, to track when your the dates that your income comes in. And for some people, they get paid once a week or every other week. So trying to balance that income and expenses from week to week with their cash flow can be a challenge, but to use a calendar to write it down and see can really help. You can also list those fixed expenses for future months if you know payments that are going to be the same every month for the rest of the year. And then also to note when those non-monthly expenses are probably going to happen. So when are your license plates tags due, and gifts and other non-monthly expenses that you anticipate. All right, so another question is, do you currently have some kind of a bill paying system? So some kind of a, when the mail comes in, or if you do it electronically, the emails, so that you know when bills need to be paid, posting those due dates, and then also some kind of a way to save proof of payment. So some kind of a filing system. It can be either electronic, or it can be a few manila file folders organized. So do you have some kind of a system? As far as paying bills, we recommend that you do this intentionally, deciding how to pay them, who will do it. So identify one responsible person, identify a method if you're going to do it electronically or in person or by mail, and then to have a place and some kind of a process so that for your record keeping. So, and like I said, if you prefer to do it hard copy with a few file folders, and you have a box or a desk drawer or wherever to keep the files, or if you do it electronically and have some kind of a filing system that way. It's important to open all the mail when it arrives, to communicate with others in the household so that you're all on board with the plan especially if some adjustments need to be made. And then the last point is to think about using a calendar. Because what happens if bills are paid late? Okay, it can get much more expensive with late fees, shut-off notices, higher interest rates. APR is annual percentage rate. So especially with like credit cards, your interest rate might go up. Your credit score might be affected. And all these things can impact things that you want to do in the future. So it might cost you more to get more credit, to borrow for a loan. It also could affect employment, being able to get a job, housing and insurance premiums. Credit scores are used in many different ways now, not just when you're applying to borrow money. Another thing we recommend is to think about having SMART financial goals. And a SMART goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So an example I gave a little earlier, say, like Rob said, he wants to save more. Okay, well, that's a goal, but it's not a SMART goal. So say he wants to save more for his emergency fund. That's specific. He wants to save $50 a month. That's measurable. So that he has $600 by the end of the year. So that's time bound. Then he can decide if that's attainable and realistic for him with his spending plan. And if not, maybe the $50 a month number needs to change a bit. So that's how a SMART goal is done. You can make SMART goals for paying down debt, for planning for future expense, same kind of process. Okay, so a well-written SMART goal starts out with, I will, I am going to. Okay, be confident about it, that it is going to happen by whatever date. A poorly written goal will say, well, I'm going to try, maybe, hopefully, within a few months to start saving, that kind of thing. Much less positive that it's going to happen. Leaves too much to chance. So an example, as far as a family vacation this year, saving $400, that would be around $57 a month for 7 months to be able to take the vacation in August. And so decide if that is something you're going to be able to do, and if the dollar and the time frame are possible within your spending plan. All right, so a few questions just to see if you understand the concepts that I've been talking about. So which of these will a spending plan help you with? To meet expenses for a certain time, to keep financially healthy, to build assets, or all of the above?
Brenda, I would say all of the above.
All right, you're correct. All right. All right, another question. So to track your daily spending habits, should you find some ways to increase your income, write down what you buy every day, decrease spending, or determine how much your monthly expenses cost?
Number 2.
Yes, that's correct. All right, so write down what you buy every day. Okay, that's one way to track. All right, next question. Which of the following are considered flexible expenses? Things that can change month to month.
Number 4.
Number 4. All right, your utility bills can also change.
Yeah.
So electric, water bills. So both 3 and 4. Okay. All right, oops, I go, well, all right. So here's the answers to this one. So we talked about how using a calendar can help you manage your bills. Some people prefer to use a computer, spreadsheets. Others, an expense envelope.
Hmm.
All right, another question. What are some ways you can save more? What are your thoughts on this one?
Number 2,
Okay,
3,
Number 4.
all right. Yeah, there are quite a few. Actually, number 1 as well. So paying yourself first. So treating your savings as an expense in your budget, your spending plan, however much you want to be putting aside regularly. That can also help. And actually, there's been some studies that show that when you save automatically, when say that $50 a month, you have it automatically taken out of your paycheck or your however you're paid, and have it directly deposited into some kind of a savings account at your financial institution, that you don't even see it until you look at that account, that's one of the most effective ways to save. All right, so these are some resources that I can email Rob these as well. The first one is from FICO.com. If you want an estimate of your credit score. The next one is to, if you want to opt out of pre-screen credit and insurance company offers. So if you're getting a lot of mail offering you a new credit card or a new insurance company, and you really don't want those in the mail, there is a way to safely opt out of them. mymoney.gov and our MSU Extension website on financial and housing have more resources if you want to learn more. And then this last one, more about thinking about saving and how to go about doing that. All right, so I have one question to ask you, and that is for my reporting, I'm required to share the for the attendees their gender, their race, and the county of residence. And I'm guessing because Dearborn Heights is in Wayne County that's
Mhm.
any of your residents, but just to double check. So if you can type this into the chat, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so. Oh. Shoot. Wait.
Okay, is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now I just want to open it up for questions. If you know, we talked about making and managing a spending plan, some tips and tools. So did we answer your questions or do you have some more?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Marianne.
Okay, if I have money set aside 3 months, 6 months in a regular checking savings account, is there anything that I can do with that money short term so that I'm earning something on it? Would like a CD be the best route, or is this not what you're about tonight? I try to put money away because I have house insurance, car insurance, taxes, and that. And so, and emergencies. And I think it's just sitting there in the bank. Should I be doing something more with it?
I understand your question because savings rates on basic savings accounts are so low right now. You could think about putting part of it into a CD. You might, think about your comfort level of how much do you think you might need for an emergency that you really need to have liquid so you're not penalized for pulling it out.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And maybe shop around a little bit to see if there might be a place that's still low risk, but would yield a little higher interest rate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The other comment you had made, I pay my bills electronically through my credit union, and I do keep hard copies monthly, which is an accumulation of a lot of paper. If I requested not to have any hard copies sent to the house and only did a notification electronically when the bill is due, would my copy of the payment, that would have to be the summary of the checks for the month, correct? Am I making any sense?
Yes, you could look up on your statement to see proof of payment.
Okay.
And I guess one other tip, if you do keep hard copy files, is how long do you need to keep those statements, like for your utility bills and credit cards and so on? If you had to try to get another copy of it, how difficult would that be of what your statement was a certain month? But for hard copy files, to maybe keep, say, 3 months in one folder for, say, your electric bill. And then when you're sure that that bill has been paid and it's cleared your account, the next month you can pull out say the statement from 4 months ago and shred that and put the new one in that folder.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
So that, you know, you're not creating clutter.
Yeah.
For papers that you don't need to keep forever.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right. Any more questions? All right. So I just wanted to share with you that my colleagues and I teach many other topics. Tonight was making a spending plan work for you through the library here, but we teach that most months. So if you have other friends or family that might be interested, or you're interested in some of these other topics, you can go to our website, mymoneyhealth.org, mymoneyhealth.org, and find the links to these other webinars that are all free that you can join. All right, so the website is there at the bottom of the slide. We also teach Homebuyer Education classes. There seems to be a lot more interest lately in that education, people thinking about buying a house instead of renting. So we keep busy with that program.
Very nice.
All right.
Okay.
So I thank you.
Thank you.
In this evening, and if you have more questions, here's my email. Send me a message, and I'll try to answer or find the answer for you.
And those who are watching this on the recording on YouTube, are they welcome to email you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
This
Those
is
who are,
excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for your comment.
yeah, thank you, Brenda. Again, for those who are watching the recording on YouTube, if you can email us at dhrreference@gmail.com. That's D as in David, H as in Harry, reference@gmail.com. And we will be happy to forward any of the forms that Brenda gave me to download for this presentation. So thank you again, Brenda. And you did a wonderful job and very informative.
Yes.
Right. Well, thanks for inviting me and setting this all up. All right.
You're welcome.